I'm 65. Yes, you heard that right. 65. For 45 years, I've been a doctor in emergency rooms, where I've spent my career witnessing the horrific consequences of people losing strength in their legs. I've seen thousands of falls, hip fractures, and months of isolation in hospital beds. To me, these aren't just medical statistics. They're stories of lives forever changed by a single stumble. My clinical history is why I'm so passionate about the science of mobility. Because in old age, leg strength isn't a luxury. It's the absolute foundation of our independence. Now, let's get straight to the point about common medical advice. Most doctors will tell you that deep squats are the gold standard for building lower body strength. From a purely biological standpoint, they're right. Squatting activates the quadriceps, glutes, and core muscles simultaneously. However, there's a significant, often overlooked gap between medical theory and the biological reality of living in a 6-5-year-old body. Once you cross the 6-5-year mark, the physiological landscape of the human body changes dramatically. At this stage of life, our cartilage becomes thinner and less elastic. The balance reflex, a neurological process called proprioception, begins to slow down, and the knees become overly sensitive to heavy vertical loads. If I tried to perform a deep squat with the same intensity as a 40-year-old athlete, my joints would ache before the muscles actually received any metabolic benefits. Trying to follow generic exercise advice at our age is often more dangerous than doing nothing at all. This serious dilemma led me to research the specialized techniques used in leading rehabilitation clinics and senior mobility programs worldwide. We need a fundamental shift toward what I define as intelligent movement. These aren't high-intensity, flashy exercises or painful, tedious, repetitive movements. Instead, they are biomechanically precise exercises specifically designed to activate the muscle fibers responsible for stability and posture while protecting the structural integrity of aging joints. By focusing on these targeted movements, we can build incredible functional strength without causing joint destruction or chronic inflammation. We will prioritize movements that protect your quality of life while ensuring you remain mobile and confident for years to come. So, where should we begin our journey to strengthen our legs? We start with the muscle group I call the true engine of the lower body, the hip flexors. You may not think about them often, but these muscles are responsible for lifting your thighs every time you walk, climb curbs, or even just get out of bed in the morning. When these muscles weaken, and believe me, they weaken very quickly after age 65, your brain begins to compensate in dangerous ways. Instead of walking clearly and confidently, you start shuffling. You might find yourself leaning forward just to maintain momentum. This is where falls happen. According to CDC data, 1 in 4 adults over 65 fall each year, and for those over 75, the rate is even higher. Strengthening your hip flexors isn't just about physical fitness. It's about survival and maintaining your freedom. I want to share with you a specific exercise, seemingly simple but incredibly powerful. It's called the seated marching hold. Before you think this is too easy to be effective, let me explain the scientific evidence. An interesting 2022 study published in the journal Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation tested this exercise on hundreds of adults aged 66 to 89. After just 8 weeks of practicing these exercises 4 times a week, participants saw an incredible 41% increase in hip flexor strength. Even more impressive was a 28% improvement in the ability to stand up from a chair without using their hands for support. That's a significant improvement in practical mobility. Here's how you can do this at home. Sit on a sturdy chair with both feet flat on the floor. Keep your back straight but relaxed. You don't need to maintain a rigid military-like posture. Now slowly raise your right knee towards your chest. The key here is control, don't jerk. When your thigh is almost parallel to the floor or as high as feels comfortable, hold that position. Hold that position for 5 seconds. You might feel a slight tremor in the front of your hip where your thigh meets your torso. Don't worry, that tremor is actually a good sign. It means your muscle fibers are working and being activated. After 5 seconds, slowly lower your leg and repeat with your left leg. For best results, I recommend doing 10 repetitions on each side, twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. There's a specific reason for breaking this exercise down. Research from 2021 showed that muscles in older adults respond much better to frequency than to volume alone. By breaking down exercises into smaller segments, you can achieve over 30% greater strength enhancement compared to performing them all in one long workout. The key is to constantly remind your nervous system how to maintain strength and stability. Now that we've started with the hip flexors, I want to bring you to a part of the leg that most people often overlook. Most people assume that if they want strong legs, they need to focus entirely on their thighs. But let me share something that might change the way you see your body. A groundbreaking study from the University of Melbourne surveyed over 500 adults over 65. They wanted to find the strongest predictor of whether a person would still be able to walk independently by age 75. Surprisingly, it wasn't the thighs or hips. It was actually calf strength. Think about that for a moment. The study showed that those with the weakest calf muscles were almost 4 times more likely to need a walker or wheelchair within just 5 years. Your calves are the unsung heroes of mobility. They are responsible for propelling your feet off the ground as you walk. And equally important, they act as shock absorbers when your feet land. Without strong calf muscles, every step feels unsteady. Every rough pavement or curb starts to look like a dangerous obstacle. When your calf muscles are weak, you lose flexibility in your gait and your balance suffers. So how do you overcome this without putting too much pressure on your joints? We use a technique called the wall heel raise. This is where the magic happens. Stand facing a wall about an arm's length away and place your palms flat on the wall for balance. Don't put all your weight on the wall, just use it for balance. Now, slowly lift yourself up on your toes, pushing off with the balls of your feet until your heels are as high as possible. At the highest point, gently squeeze your calf muscles for 3 seconds. But here's the most important part, the real secret to building muscle. It's called the centrifugal phase, just a more eloquent way of saying the descent phase. Most people just drop their heels down immediately, but I want you to do the opposite. I want you to take a full 3 seconds to slowly lower your heels to the floor. Imagine you're pressing the gas pedal very hard, slowly. Research shows that this slow descent phase can actually create 62% more muscle growth in older adults than just the upward movement. It's during this controlled descent that your muscles are forced to become stronger. I recommend doing 12 to 15 repetitions per set and doing 3 sets with about 1 minute of rest between sets. You should do this exercise 3 times a week. And here's a little tip from my years of experience. Try to do this exercise right after a short 5-minute walk. Walking a little will warm up the blood in your lower legs, making the exercise safer and more effective for your joints. If you persevere, your ankles will feel more stable and you'll move with a confidence you may not have felt in years. After focusing on the hips and calf stability, we need to talk about the big guys of the legs, the quadriceps. These are the large muscle groups in the front of the thighs, and frankly, they're the ones doing the heavy lifting every time you sit down in a car seat, climb stairs, or stand up from a chair. But the problem is, as we get older, we tend to rely on momentum or our arms to stand up. We use a slight push or swing, and while that helps us get up, it actually reduces the efficiency of the muscles needed to maintain strength. This is where the exercise called sitting down and standing up with a pause comes into play. And the science behind it is truly amazing. A large-scale clinical trial published in the prestigious journal, The Lancet Healthy Longevity, followed 1,800 adults aged 65 to 92. One group practiced standing up from a chair normally, while the other group added a deliberate pause midway through the movement. After 10 weeks, the group using the mid-stance technique saw a 58% increase in quadriceps strength. What about the group that stood up normally? They only saw a 12% improvement. That's nearly a 5-fold difference simply by adding a few seconds of holding the position. So why is this method so effective? When you pause midway through standing up, you completely eliminate inertia. You can't cheat. Your quadriceps are forced to hold your entire body weight under constant tension. This helps build incredible functional strength without putting as much strain on the knee joints as lifting heavy weights. Here's the right way to do it. Use a sturdy chair without armrest. Cross your arms in front of your chest. This is important because it prevents you from using your hands to cheat. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart and lean slightly forward. As you begin to stand up, pause and hold the position when you are halfway up, when your thighs are parallel to the floor. Hold that position for 3 seconds. You will feel a burning sensation in your thighs. That burning sensation is exactly what we want. It means your muscles are mobilizing every muscle fiber they can. After 3 seconds, stand up straight, then slowly lower yourself down for another 3 seconds. To increase effectiveness, I recommend doing this exercise every other day right before breakfast. A study from Seoul National University showed that performing these movements on an empty stomach in the morning can stimulate the release of much higher levels of growth hormone, which is key to building and maintaining muscle as we age. Just 8 repetitions for 2 sets, and you'll start to see a big difference in how easy it is to move around during the day. Now, my friend, I want to talk to you about a muscle that almost everyone ignores, but it might be the most important one for keeping you out of the hospital. We have talked about moving forward and backward, but what about side to side? There is a muscle on the outside of your hip called the gluteus medius. You probably never give it a second thought, but it is actually the silent guardian of your balance. A very serious study from 2023, published by the American Geriatric Society, found that weakness in this specific muscle was the single best predictor of lateral falls. Why does that matter so much? Because lateral falls, those stumbles where you go down sideways, are the most dangerous type of fall you can have. They are the primary cause of hip fractures. Every year, over 300,000 seniors are hospitalized for hip fractures, and the reality is heartbreaking. 20% of those people do not make it through the first year after the injury. This is not a minor issue. It is a life-changing event that we must prevent. Your gluteus medius is what keeps your pelvis level and stable every time you take a step. When you lift one foot to walk, this muscle on the opposite side has to fire to keep your whole body from tilting. If it is weak, your balance shifts and you become vulnerable to a sideways stumble. To strengthen this critical area, we are going to use a movement called the side lying leg lift with hold. I want you to lie down on your side on a firm surface, like a yoga mat or even a very firm bed. Stack your legs on top of each other and keep your knees straight. Now slowly lift your top leg toward the ceiling, about 12 to 18 inches. You do not need to kick it high. We want control, not speed. When you reach the top, I want you to hold it for 5 seconds. You will feel a deep work happening right on the outside of your hip. That is your gluteus medius working to keep your leg elevated. After 5 seconds, slowly lower your leg back down. This lowering phase is just as important as the lift. Do 10 repetitions on one side, then flip over and do 10 on the other. But here is the most important tip. Keep your hips perfectly stacked. A common mistake is rolling your top hip backward as you lift. When you do that, you stop using your hip and start using your lower back, which defeats the whole purpose. A study from the University of British Columbia found that keeping perfect alignment increases muscle activation by over 70%. To really maximize your results, try adding a burnout hold on your very last repetition. Just hold your leg at the top for as long as you possibly can. The researchers found that adding this one simple burnout hold increased lateral stability by an extra 19%. Do this 4 times a week, and you will build a protective shield of strength around your hips that will keep you walking tall and steady for years to come. Finally, we come to what I consider the most amazing of all leg exercises. If you could choose just one exercise for everyone over 65, it would be this one. Harvard researchers call it the leg medicine, and for good reason. While all the exercises we've mentioned focus on building specific muscle groups, this final exercise integrates them all into a single coordinated system. It's called the chair-supported single leg balance tap. The science behind this exercise is truly amazing. A Harvard Medical School study tested this exact exercise on adults aged 65 to 94. After 12 weeks, the results were almost unbelievable. Participants showed 87% higher overall leg muscle activation compared to those performing a traditional squat. Think about that, nearly double the muscle engagement. But the most important number is they saw a 43% reduction in the risk of falling. No other exercise in the study achieved that level of protection. Why is it so effective? Because it forces the supporting leg to balance the entire body while the other leg moves in space. This is exactly what happens when you step over a curb or reach for a grocery bag. The quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and even the small muscles inside your foot have to work simultaneously to keep you standing upright. To do this, stand behind a sturdy chair and gently place your fingertips on the back of the chair. Shift your weight to your right leg and lightly lift your left foot. Now, lightly tap your left foot 30 centimeters forward, then 30 centimeters to the side, and then 30 centimeters backward. That's one cycle. I want you to move slowly and with complete control. Speed is your enemy here. Take 2 seconds to move out and 2 seconds to come back. A Stanford study showed that slow movement gives the brain enough time to mobilize every muscle fiber possible. And here's my helpful tip. Do this barefoot whenever possible. Barefoot exercise has been shown to activate 29% more stabilizing muscles in the feet and ankles, which are the first line of defense against tripping. My dear friend, we've learned so much today. From hip rotations to this perfect balance exercise, you now have a solid foundation to regain your strength. I want you to remember that at 65, I am living proof of the effectiveness of these movements. You don't need a gym. You just need persistence. Start today, even if you only choose one exercise. Your independence is worth every second of effort. Before I finish, I really want to hear from you. Please tell me, how old are you? And in these 5 exercises, which one do you feel you need to start doing today? I read your comments because your progress inspires me to continue sharing this knowledge. Thank you for your time with me. Let's keep going, stay strong, and move forward together.